Hello student, welcome to EPG Pathsala. I am Dr. Ajeet Jaiswal from Department of Anthropology, Pondicherry Central University. Today we are going to discuss about a modules entitled Physical Performance Test under paper Physiological Anthropology. So student, let us see what we are going to learn or discuss in this modules. Before starting, let me give you the important objective of this particular modules. As the course provide introductory information to the field of physical fitness and the component of physical fitness. It includes the application of a different performance related component and physical performance test. The study of these modules enable the student at postgraduate level to understand the different tests for the assessment of health related component, for strength assessment and for assessment of coordination, etc. Now let me give you the introductory information about this modules. The struggle for an individual to live a healthy and fit life has been a matter of great concern throughout the world. Man has to be fit and healthy to survive in his environment and enjoy his existence. So, man has always battled with the diverse nature of his environment, like poor weather condition, shortage of food, flood and drought, earthquake, volcanoes and tsunamis, among other, in order to survive. The humans who are not fit enough to overcome adverse conditions or adapt to the changing environment would eventually fall by the wayside or perish. So, it is important now for us to discuss what is physical fitness. What is the real meaning of physical fitness? How we explain the concept or the term what is called as physical fitness. Physical fitness is the ability to carry out the daily task with vigor and alertness. Vigor and alertness without undue fatigue and with ample energy to enjoy leisure time, pursuits and to meet emergencies. This particular definition was given by Harrison Clark. Component of physical fitness. Fitness can be classified into different components. They are health or health related components and performance or skill related components. When we talk about the health related components, these are those factors that are related to how well the system of your body works, like cardiovascular fitness, body composition, flexibility, muscular strength, muscular endurance. When we talk about the cardiovascular fitness, it is the ability of the circulatory system, especially heart and blood vessel, to supply oxygen to working muscle during work or exercise. When we discuss about the body compositions, it is the relative percentage of body fat compared to lean body mass, that is muscle, bone, water, etc. The flexibility here explains the range of movement possible around various joints. The concept of muscular strength, it discusses about the amount of force that can be produced by a single contraction of a muscle or group of muscles, whereas the muscular endurance is the ability of a muscle group to continue muscle movement over a length of time. Performance or skill related component. These components of fitness form the basis for successful sports or activity participation, like speed, agility, balance, coordination, reaction time, power. Here the speed means the ability to move quickly from one point to another in a straight line, whereas the agility explains the agility of the body to change direction quickly and appropriately. When we discuss about the balance, it is the ability to maintain an appropriate posture during movement, whereas coordination explains the integration with hand and or foot movement with the input of the sense. Reaction time explains the amount of time taken to initiate a response, whereas a power is an ability to combine strength with speed. So, the components are speed, agility, balance, coordination, reaction and power. Test for assessment of health related fitness component. Testing and movement are the means of collecting information upon which subsequent performance, evaluation and decisions are made. But in the analysis, we need to bear in mind the factors that may influence the result. The important factors are test are copper VO2 max test to assess cardiovascular endurance, Harvard step test to assess the cardiovascular endurance, test for body composition like skin fold measurement to assess body fat percentage, seat and reach test to assess flexibility, 1 RM test what is called as repetition maximum test to assess muscle strength, test for muscle endurance assessment, partial curl up test, push up test and so on. The copper VO2 max test to assess cardiovascular endurance is used to monitor the development of the athlete's aerobic endurance and to obtain an estimate of their VO2 max. This test requires the athlete to cover as much distance as possible in 12 or 8 minutes for men and women respectively. Harvard step test to assess the cardiovascular endurance. It was developed by Boucher et al. In 1943. The objective of this test is to monitor the changes in the athlete's cardiovascular system. This test requires the athlete to step up and down of a gym bench for 5 minutes at a rate of about 30 steps per minute. Next test is the test for body composition, that is skin fold measurement to assess body fat percentage. Skin fold is a method of discovering correct body weight and fat composition by measuring the layer of subcutaneous fat beneath the skin. The percentage of total body fat can be measured by the skin fold measurement at a selected point on the body with a pair of caliper. This test only requires 4 measurements. A similar alternative method is the Yahoo's skin fold test, which requires 6 measurements. The objective of this test is to monitor the athlete's level of body fat. Next test is sit and reach test to assess flexibility. The objective of this test is to monitor the flexibility of the athlete's lower back and hamstring. Next one is 1 RM test, which is called as repetition maximum test to assess muscle strength. The objective of this test is to measure maximum strength of various muscle and muscle group. The advantage of this particular test is the required equipment is readily available in most gyms, but there is some disadvantage also, like performing a maximum weight lift is only for advanced weight trainer. It is important to have good technique before attempting this test. The test result will be specific to the equipment used and the technique allowed, so is best used for test retest measure. The test is also called 1 rep maximum or 1 RM, 1 repetition maximum. Next one is a test for muscular endurance assessment, like partial curl up test and push up test. Now let's discuss about the test for strength assessment. Grip strength test is used to assess the strength of the hand grip. This test is used to monitor the development of the subject grip strength. For this test, the required resources is a hand grip dynamometer. The procedure used for this test is as follows. The subject using this dominant hand applied as much grip pressure as possible on the dynamometer. The assistant record the maximum reading in kilogram. The subject repeat the test 3 times. The assessors use the highest recorded value to assess the subject performance. Clark in 2005 conducted a study which examined the impact of the shape of the hand as relatively long, average or square shape on maximum voluntary isometric grip strength in a group of healthy male and female teenagers aged range from 13 to 17 years. Analysis of this particular test is by comparing it with the subject previous result for this test. It is expected that with appropriate training between each test, the analysis would indicate an improvement in the subject's grip strength. The advantage of this particular test is as follows, like minimal equipment is required. It is simple to set up and conduct and can be conducted with almost anywhere, but it has some disadvantage also, like specialist equipment is required. It is not carried out by any normal fashion, but there is specific dynamometer is required for this particular test. Performance or skill related test. This is test for speed assessment, like sprint or speed test. The purpose of this test is to determine acceleration, maximum running speed and speed endurance depending on the distance run. The resource required for this thing is a measuring tape or mark track, stopwatch or timing gates and cone markers. The procedure for this test is the test involved running a single maximum sprint over a set distance with time recorded. After a standardized warm-up, the test is conducted over a certain distance such as 10, 20, 40 and or 50 meters or yard depending on the sport and what you are trying to measure. The starting position should be standardized starting from a stationary position with a foot behind the starting line with no rocking measurement. If you have the equipment, you can measure the time to run each split distance during the same run, and then acceleration and peak velocity can be determined. It is used to give the subject an adequate warm-up and practice first and some encouragement to continue running hard past the finish line. The result of this test shows that you can use a measure of the time for the first 10 meters or yards from a stationary start as a score for acceleration and the time to run between 30 to 60 meters for a flying sprint speed or maximum running speed. This score can also be presented as a running velocity. For sprint test conducted over 100 meters or yards or so, comparing the time for the final 40 compared to the first can be used as a speed endurance score. Next is a test for agility assessment called as Illinois Agility Run Test. The object of Illinois Agility Run Test is to monitor the development of the subject's agility. The required resources for this test is a flat non-slip surface, 8 cones, stopwatch. This test required the subject to run the red line route as shown in the diagram like in agile fashion. The procedures are as follows. The subject warm up for 10 minutes. The assessors set up the course as described. The subject lies face down on the floor at the start cone. The assessor gives the command go and start the stopwatch. The subject jumps to his or her feet and negotiate the course around the cones following the red line route. Next, the assessor stops the stopwatch and record the time when the subject passed the finished cone. Normative scores for the Illinois Agility Run Test is already described. Analysis of the test result is by comparing it with the subject previous result for this test. It is expected that with appropriate training between each test, the analysis would indicate an improvement in the subject agility. The advantage of this particular test is minimal equipment required, simple to set up and conduct, and can be conducted almost anywhere. Next important test is test for assessment of balance. In this test, the important one is standing stock test to assess balance. The objective of this test is to assess the ability to maintain a state of equilibrium. Here equilibrium means balance in a static positions. For this particular test, the required resources are warm, dry location like gym, stopwatch and assessors. The procedure for this test is as follows. The subject warm up for 10 minutes. The subject stand comfortably on both feet with their hands on their hip. The subject lift the right leg and place the sole of the right foot against the sole of the left kneecap. The assessor gives the command go. Start the stopwatch and the athletes raises the heel of the left foot to stand on their toes. The subject is to hold this position for as long as possible. Next important procedure is the assessor stop the stopwatch when the subject left heel touches the ground on the right foot, moves away from the left knee. The assessors record the time. The subject repeat this step for 3 times or 3 minutes. Repeat for 3 minutes or rest for 3 minutes. The athletes stand comfortably on body feet with their hands on their hips. The subject left the left leg and place the sole of the left foot against the side of the right kneecap. The assessors give the command go. Start the stopwatch and the subject raise the heel of the right foot to stand on their toes. Next, the subject is to hold this position for as long as possible. The assessors stop the stopwatch when the subject right heel touches the ground or the left foot moves away from the right kneecap and record the time. Analysis of the test result is by comparing it with the subject previous record for this test. It is expected that with appropriate training between each test, the analysis would indicate an improvement in the subject static balance. The advantage of this particular test is that no equipment required, simple to set up and conduct, and be conducted almost anywhere. Test for assessment of coordination. First one is hand-eye coordination test. The subject of the test is to assess the ability of the subject vision system to coordinate the information received through the eye and direct the hand to accomplish the act of catching a ball, called as hand-eye coordination. The required resources for this test is tennis ball, stopwatch, smooth wall, assessors. The procedures for this test is, this test requires the subject to throw and catch a tennis ball off a wall. The subject warm up for 10 minutes. The subject stand 2 meters away from a smooth wall. The assessors give the command go and start the stopwatch. The subject threw a tennis ball with their right hand against the wall and catch it with the left hand. Throws the ball with the left hand and catch it with the right hand. This cycle of throwing and catching is repeated for 30 seconds. The assessor counts the number of catches and stop the test after 30 seconds. The assessor records the number of catches. Analysis of the result is done by comparing it with the result of the previous test. It is expected that with appropriate training between each test, the analysis would indicate an improvement in the athlete's hand-eye coordination skill. The advantage of this particular test is minimal equipment required. Second, simple to set up and conduct. And third, can be conducted almost anywhere. Now let's discuss about the another important test called as ruler drop test. This test is used to assess reaction time. So the objective of this test is to monitor the subject reaction time. For this particular test, there is a very simple resources required like meter ruler and assessors. The procedure to carry out this test is as follows. The ruler is held up by the assessors between the outstretched index finger and the thumb of the subject dominant hand so that the top of the athlete's thumb is level with the 0 centimeter line on the ruler. The assessors instruct the subject to catch the ruler as long as possible after it has been released. The assessor releases the ruler and the subject catches the rulers between their index finger and thumb as quickly as possible. The assessor records the distance between the bottom of the ruler and the top of the subject thumb where the ruler was caught. The test is repeated for 2 more times and the average value is taken as score. The analysis of the result is by comparing it with the result of the previous test. It is expected that with approximate training between each test, the analysis would indicate an improvement in the subject reaction time. The advantage of this particular test is like very minimal equipment is required, and this particular test is simple to set up and conduct and can be conducted almost anywhere. Standing long jump test to assess power or explosive strength. The objective of this test is to monitor the development of subject elastic leg strength. The procedure for this test is the subject warms up for 10 minutes. The subject places their feet over the edge of the sandpit, crouches down and using the arm and leg and jump horizontally as far as possible, landing with both feet into the sandpit. The assistant measures the distance from the edge of the sandpit to the nearest impression made by the athletes in the sandpit, and the assessors record the distance in centimeters. The subject repeats the test 3 times. Longest recorded distance is the score of the subject. Analysis of the test result by comparing it with the subject previous result for this test. It is expected that with appropriate training between each test, the analysis would indicate an improvement in the subject leg strength. The advantage of this particular test is minimal equipment required, simple to set up and conduct. The test can be easily administered. There is some disadvantages also, like specific facilities required like long jump pit. Second is assistant required to administer the test. The sergeant jump test. The sergeant jump test, also known as the vertical jump test, was developed by Dr. Alan Sargent. The objective of this test is to assess the subject elastic leg strength in vertical jumping abilities. The required resources for this test is wall, tape measure, step ladder, chalk. The procedure for this test is the subject warms up for 10 minutes. The subject chalks the end of his or her fingertips. The subject stands alongside the wall, keeping both feet remaining on the ground, reaches up as high as possible with one hand and marks the wall with the tip of the finger. The subject from a static position jump as high as possible and marks the wall with the chalk on the finger. The assessors measures and record the distance between M1 and M2. M1 is the initial, the last step one, and M2 is that subject from a static position jump as high as possible and marks the wall with the chalk. The subject repeat the test 3 times. The assessor calculate the average of the recorded distance and use this value to assess the subject's performance. Power score. A heavier person jump the same height as a lighter person has to do more work as they have a larger mass to move. It is sometimes useful to convert the vertical jump height to units of power. Power cannot be calculated since the time the force is acted on the body is unknown. Formulas have been developed that estimate power from vertical jump measurement. In these formulas, mass, that is body weight, and vertical jump height is used. Like Lewis formula, the Lewis formula estimate average power, so indicate that average power, that is in watt, is root of 4.9 into mass into vertical jump height into 9.81. Similarly, several other formulas were given by like Sears formula, Herman's formula, John and Bahamonde formula, and so on. The advantage of this test is as follows, like minimal equipment is required, simple to set up and conduct, the test can be easily administered, can be conducted almost anywhere. But there is some disadvantages also, like specific area required, assistant required to administer the test. Now let's discuss about the KW test, also called as a Cross-Weber test. Dr. Hans Cross and Dr. Sonza Weber, they developed the Cross-Weber minimum test in the year 1950. In this particular test, the 6-item medical fitness test measure the strength and flexibility of the key postural or called core muscle. The test consists of 5 strength challenges and 1 general flexibility procedure. The Cross-Weber test do not require sophisticated equipment and are easy to administer. Next important test is effort agility test, that is AAHPERD, effort agility test. It is a test of agility and dynamic balance for the elderly, which is a part of the effort functional fitness protocol. There is also another test called up and go agility test, also designed to test agility in the elderly people. This test measures speed, agility and balance while moving. 4-level abdominal strength test. This is one of many tests of abdominal muscle strength. It is a simple test to conduct requiring minimal equipment. The objective of this test is as the 4 stages sit-up test measure lower back and abdominal strength, which is important in for core stability. The procedure for this test is as follows. This is a simple test where you are required to do 4 forms of sit-ups. The subject attempt to perform 1 sit-up as described for each level, with either the feet held up as assistant or not, and with the legs straight or not. Several attempts can be made for each level, with the technique scored using the criteria below. The 4 labels are as follows. First, perform a leg sit-up with the knees at a right angle and your feet held. Second, perform a leg sit-up with the knees at right angle and your feet not held. Third, perform a straight leg sit-up with your feet held. Fourth, Perform a straight leg sit up with your feet not held. Use the criteria in the given table to give a score out of 4 for each sit up. Add the score for all 4 sit up labels for a total score out of 16. Like the scoring is as follows: 0 score means criteria is cannot perform, 1 indicate difficulty performing a jerky motion, feet leave the floor, third use a lot of momentum to overcome 45-degree, 3 perform with slight pause in the mid area of the sit up, 4 no difficulty. The advantage of this test is moderate size group can be tested at once with minimal equipment required, and the disadvantage is scoring is subjective and therefore result cannot be easily compared between groups. So dear, now let's try to summarize the information that we have discussed in this modules. In this modules, we discuss about the test to measure the health and performance related components are standardized and time tested. We also learned about the periodic and regular assessment of the subject with a given with a given clear indicator to the assessors about the progress made with regard to general health or performance fitness. In these particular modules, we also learn about the norms. The norms should more often than not be a guideline rather than qualifying test in case of assessment of general fitness. Here, the criteria guidelines should be the subject own previous performance and not the universal norm. However, the universal norm can be the general guideline for the subject towards better health. Okay, thank you.